Let's identify some of the social media tactics we can utilize as a part of our digital marketing efforts. First, we'll explore the concept of social media optimization, which is about coordinating our actions within and across social channels of an owned or earned media type. Second, we'll talk about social media marketing, which involves social paid media. First up is social media optimization, or SMO. The phrase "think like a publisher" has been uttered within digital marketing for around a decade and a half. That's roughly half of digital marketing's entire lifespan. Think like a publisher. I have no idea who first said it, but in 2007, David Meerman Scott said in his book, The New Rules of Marketing and PR, "In order to implement a successful strategy, think like a publisher." Let's contemplate 2007. MySpace was still in its first downhill spiral under the ownership of News Corporation. Facebook was 3 years old and was just exiting the model of only being available to students at select universities. YouTube was only 2 years old and had just been acquired by Google a few months prior. Think like a publisher was already ingrained in the digital marketing psyche. The concept appeared in books, trainings, and blogs, tons of blogs, over the next several years. The marketing world was still getting used to the opening of majorly impactful new channels beyond traditional advertising, which up until the digital age was pretty much synonymous with marketing itself. That's of course incorrect, but still what many people thought. Along the way, the concept of thinking like a network, as in a TV network, picked up as well. Consider this. Your customers that are reachable on YouTube aren't always the same as those reachable on Facebook, and it just gets more complex as each of those two customers may vary over time. They may even vary from moment to moment, but we'll explore this complexity later in the course. Treating YouTube, Facebook, Reddit, and your blog as different channels with different programming needs is a decent mental model for digital marketing, albeit somewhat basic. So where do we publish our content? To answer this, we'll lean into owned media. Social media profiles and pages matter here. So do your groups, forums, and other types of social posts and content, even though many of those may have a clear overlap with earned media, which will be discussed momentarily. New media tools like multimedia hosting services, whether social or not, are also relevant here. Posting videos on YouTube, releasing audio podcasts, as well as ebooks and audiobooks. And while you mostly won't own any of the channels just mentioned, you do fully own the content. Where you will own the channels, with some exceptions, is with your website and blog. But don't forget any mobile applications your company may own as well. We used to advise to publish everywhere, to go and reserve your company's name on every social network. But being everywhere is just a time suck these days. You want to consider your market and your targets to determine where you need to distribute owned content. You can be more granular and consider segments, personas, profiles, or whatever your preferred tool for understanding customers may be. But your targets and the markets in which they exist will generally suffice. Wherever they are, you sort of want to be. Why only sort of? Because there's a second half to this answer, and that is you only want to go where everybody knows your name. I'm just kidding. That's the classic 1980s TV show Cheers. You only want to go where you can be active. If you're a 5-person startup and none of you can make a decent enough video, YouTube probably isn't your best bet unless you want to scare otherwise willing customers away. Capability to meet the demands of the channel and the ability to be consistent are key here. Go where your market goes and where you can participate. Galileo said, "Measure what is measurable, and make measurable what is not so." And later, the British Lord Kelvin expounded that what is measurable can be improved, and what isn't, can't. These and other sources have been shared, repeated, and modified for hundreds of years, and will follow this wisdom and address measurement and evaluation later in the course. But for now, we want to know what's measurable or quantifiable about social media optimization so we can get to work. We'll quickly iterate through scheduling, frequency, and engagement. Scheduling is all about when you make your posts, comments, and whatever else you do on social media. I won't politicize this course, but take a look around Twitter for the trending hashtags in the very early hours before sunrise and see what's trending in the United States. To spare you the suspense, On many days, it's whatever the owners of Russian bot farms want to trend. As soon as people start waking up in the US, those trends just fall away unless the bot farms get lucky with mainstream traction. This is all a part of psychological operations, or PSYOPs. The US military conducts its own PSYOPs, including global social media persona management. This even happens around the clock right here in Florida at MacDill Air Force Base on the tip of the Inner Bay Peninsula in South Tampa. Countries do this, and so do businesses, albeit to a much lesser degree. So we won't go as far as PSYOPs, but in a way, aren't making connections with unknown potential customers a form of psychological operations? We need to post at the right time, which is really whenever the people within a target are actively looking, or can be enticed to our message if not actively looking. If it sounds like I was suggesting the Russian bot farms have it all wrong and post at the wrong times, let me go back and clarify. A 2018 paper titled Diurnal Variations of Psychometric Indicators in Twitter Content revealed an analysis of over 800 million tweets comprised of over 7 billion words between January 2010 and November 2014 across the 54 largest cities in the UK. They found that between 3 and 4 a.m., psychometric indicators, which are psychological measurements, again, make everything measurable, identified that the prevalent thinking was impulsive and existential. After a short gap, this was followed by a 5 to 6 a.m. sense of aggressive drive, including ambition and power. The UK and the US are very similar culturally, so apologies in advance to any pro-state Russian students, but if you're peddling pro-dictatorial nationalist propaganda to Western countries as a part of PSYOPs and cultural influence, Twitter, between 3 and 6 in the morning local time, is a psychographic bullseye. Frequency also matters. You've heard that it takes 7 exposures to make a sale. Well, we call those exposures touchpoints in our digital marketing campaigns, and they involve everything from website visits to seeing targeted ads to hearing us sponsor podcasts. Google has utilized data from Google Ads and Google Analytics to claim that not 7, but on average, 20 or more touchpoints are needed to make a conversion. Depending on the product, it can take several hundred over time, no kidding, to convert a prospective customer. Think how many times you see and hear about Delta, intentionally on Delta's part, before you decide to choose them for an airline ticket over a competitor. Probably well over 20. So frequency is more about being present persistently through the customer's journey than about bombarding anyone with excessive messaging. And engagement is about generating interaction with your message. Asking questions and presenting other prompts, such as polls, helps with this task. So does proactively engaging with others on their messages. However, this metric very much speaks to the overlap between owned and earned media, or even further along in the work that goes into generating earned media itself. With earned social media, we look to measure likes, upvotes, comments, shares, forwards, mentions, favorites, saves, downloads, subscriptions, or whatever else can be tracked dependent upon channel and reporting capabilities. Here are some of the social media tactics that would fall under the broad category of SMO. The quantifiable metrics of scheduling, frequency, and engagements will help you deploy and evaluate these tactics once they're later paired with objectives via a strategy. I've tried to break these out by whether they're owned or earned. Some are in the overlap between the two. For instance, the use of a hashtag is owned media, but it can be done in a manner to solicit earned media, such as kicking off your own hashtag or starting a hashtag-based contest, giveaway, or social game. Making a list on Twitter and adding people to it to aggregate their posts for yourself and others is owned media, but it's in the effort of generating earned media when it's done to get the attention of those you've added and their followers. On the flip side, you being added to a list due to, well, being you, is earned media. For an entertainment-specific example, getting a band onto a leading Spotify playlist is utilizing their content into gaining the earned media of playlist inclusion. In addition to the practice of social media optimization, there's also social media marketing, or SMM. I mentioned before that social media marketing involves paid media. It seems at first as if we're incorrectly calling advertising marketing in this case, but SMM does go beyond just paid ads. There's also boosted posts, sponsored messages, paid account takeovers, advertisements made to look like editorials called advertorials, paid reviews, paid endorsements, and if we really stretch, some social affiliate marketing could be considered SMM. Be careful here because it can be against the channel's terms of service, unethical, or even illegal to pay for some of these things in certain places. Paid reviews are a bad idea all around, but if classified, they are SMM. Putting everything together now, we have a basic, non-exhaustive, but still thorough listing of social media tactics. It's now your task to review these tactics and conduct some independent research on them and search for others. There is no authoritative list, and there are many ways to classify these and other tactics, so don't get too hung up on classifications. If you'd like to discuss social tactics with me further, join me in a live class session or contact me to set a meeting. To conclude, I'll offer one additional suggestion, and that is to not underestimate how much work and time can be required for these tactics to work. Carl Pullein is a British expatriate living in Seoul, South Korea. He's a time management and productivity expert and a former professor of business creativity at Kyunghee University. His PACT model is a great model for guiding behaviors and thinking around social media growth. PACT is patience, action, consistency, and time. Although I think he missed a great opportunity to make the P mean planning instead. I've had the opportunity to speak to Carl on several occasions, and he's absolutely right that action doesn't lead to success when using social media. Consistent action over time does. He has a free course on the PACT model out there on the web if you want to learn more about the time it takes to be successful in building a social media presence for personalities and businesses. We'll end with hearing some of the words of wisdom he shared with me just a few years back. You do espouse this PACT model, P-A-C-T, patience, action, consistency, and time. Is this your own model, or is this something that's been floated around that you have your own take on? Where does PACT come from?
That came from, well, the story goes, actually, after the first year of my YouTube channel, I think I had about, I can't remember, maybe 2,000 or 3,000 subscribers or something. And I started getting people asking questions, how do you do it? How do you build a YouTube channel? And I was perfectly happy to give advice, even though I didn't think I was an expert in any way. I said, you just got to start doing videos, get the content out there. Don't look at the numbers, because that's what will stop you, because your numbers won't be great in the first 6 months, maybe not great in the first year. You've just got to keep going. And these people asked me, say, oh, great, thanks very much. And I started following them on YouTube. I subscribed, and I didn't go looking at them every single day, but, you know, every few months I'd call in just to see what they were doing. And 100% of them had quit after 6 months.
Wow.
And some within 3 months, but mostly we're all gone by the end of 6 months. And I thought to myself, then I thought, wow, this is, you know, these guys have no patience. And I'd been advising them to take action and be consistent and allow enough time. And it was just one day I was writing it down and went, oh my God, that makes the word PACT.
That's very serendipitous. I love it.
So that's where it came from.